So for our first presentation, we have Bruna Caltabiano. Yeah, if you want to start sharing, be my guest. Let me just say some words about Bruna, which is a little bit difficult. I could say that she has been working for ELT over 20 years. I could say that she's a co-founder of Caltabiano Idiomas and also the academic director of that lovely school. I could say that she holds a degree in psychology, and she holds the CPE, the ICELT, the DELTA, and also she's a CELTA tutor, and I could also mention that she's the board member of the LAMSIG, the Special Interest Group for Leadership and Management for BRAZ-TESOL. But I have to say that she's one of the the people that I know with more empathy. And I can say that because I have worked with her. I have seen how she deals with her students. I have seen how she deals with teachers and how she really understands what everybody needs. So this is actually how I want to present, because I find this bios really boring to say. And really, really thank you for you and Marcelo and Caltabiano Idiomas for sponsoring us. And thank you for all the mentorship and that you have been given me since we met. And she's a dear friend of mine that is going to talk about something that she really knows about, which is empathy. Bruna,
thank you so much. Now it's difficult to start after introduction, yes. Oh, mine. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's really a pleasure to be here. It's an honor. When I first talked to Sheila, I felt really honored to be part of this morning. And then, and empathy is a topic that I really appreciate, I really like, and it's part of my daily life, really. I think it's very difficult for us to talk about something that we don't believe and we don't incorporate in our practices, because I believe we need to practice what we preach. And then when we talked about being at this event, I thought it would be a nice thing to say. I've made this presentation before, but it was sort of Pechacucha in Caxias do Sul. I don't know if, I think Carlos was there. I'm sure he was there. I don't know if anyone else was there besides Carlos and Marcelo, my business partner. But then it was a Pechacucha. It was something very quick and crazy. So today I think I can do that without being that so nervous, and we can develop the ideas better. So to start with, I would like just to give you a few seconds for you to read this prose. It's not a poem, but this text, please. I took this picture at the Center for Human Rights in Atlanta last year, but I had seen this text before many times on the internet. And the reason I decided to start by showing this text is that it has really taken a toll on me. Every time I saw this text and its variations, because there are many possible variations from this text, every time I saw that, I felt like, wow, when this last line and there was no one left to speak for me, it was something that really impacts me, because this is something that we usually see. So Martin Niemöller, he used to be a pastor, and he used to support Hitler during the Second World War. And when he wrote this, it's because he regretted. So he was criticizing the German intellectuals and the clergy because they were following the Nazi, and these people were going like after group and persecuting everyone. So he regretted what was what happened during the Second World War, and he decided to write this. And it meant so much to so many people that people started rewriting this text, but changing socialists, Jews to Catholics, and many other groups that because the same thing happened to them. And this is something very important and relevant, because what happens is that sometimes when we are not part of one of those groups, we see things happening. We see that so many wrong things are happening, but we simply don't do anything. We just like close our eyes or our ears. We don't want to see, we don't want to hear, we want to pretend that nothing is happening, because it really doesn't impact, has an impact on us directly. And then we should try to change this position. It's not easy. And I've been trying to change this on myself. It's a fight every time, because sometimes because we are not feeling this way, we end up, things just happen and we don't do anything to change them. And that's why I decided to start with this, because I think this this ability of changing something, of feeling something, if it's not, even if it's not related to you, is part of what we call empathy. So empathy is the ability to share another person's feelings and emotions if they were your own feelings and emotions. It basically means that you can be in another person's shoes. You can put yourselves in another person's shoes, even if you have never been through the other person's situation. I can understand how a person feels, or at least I try to understand, even if I'm not this person. This is the meaning of empathy. And it's something that I've worked so much on at college. So I'm a psychologist. I joke that I'm a retired psychologist because I don't work with that anymore. I don't work with psychology anymore. I'm a full-time teacher and I an entrepreneur, but I don't work with psychology itself anymore. But it's a concept that I have really tried um, to improve since I started college, because it was something I needed when I was there in order to have patience, because you need to understand what the person is feeling. Otherwise, you cannot have this connection with the other person. And I believe we should really have this with students too. And we should really have this with friends, and in any walk of our lives. This is something that is really important, because if you don't know how the person feels, because you don't feel like the person, is very difficult, because I have been through so little in my life because of privileges and everything. So I really need to try to understand how the person feels. So this is a concept that we should try to learn and teach our students, because then when we manage to do this, we are able to acknowledge everything that appears in class. We do much more than only teaching the plan and teaching English, for example, here in our case. We can do much more than this, because in the end, all students are human beings. So we have sort of connections with students, because this is human to human connection. It's more than teacher student or student student. It's like a bunch of human beings connected. And when we demonstrate empathy, we manage to have all these connections reinforced. So and then we are doing much more than teaching. We acknowledge everything that appears in class. For example, we might have a student who has lots of difficulties to learn the language. Let's suppose that this student is a very successful businesswoman, and then she's the director of a big company, but then when it comes to learning English, it's very difficult to learn. And then imagine how frustrating it is to this person, and then this person gets very demotivated. Understanding that is very demotivating is the first step, because otherwise, what do we understand about this person? Oh, this person doesn't care. Oh, because when we are good at so many things and we are not good at other things, what happens? We tend to give up things, give up on things that we are not good at. I think it's so natural. We tend to invest on things that we know how to do and we like to do. But maybe this person needs to needs English because of career, because of personal aims and everything. So let's try to help this person go there and not giving up, instead of seeing that as, oh, this person is not motivated, oh, whatever, if she's not interested, what can I do? Maybe this person is interested. It's just so hard, so difficult. So it's very important for us to try to understand, try to acknowledge that sometimes it's more difficult than we think, than it would be to us, for example, because it seems so simple because we're teachers, but sometimes it's not that simple. I had a student for I used to have a student that now she's not having classes because she's a doctor, and because she's a doctor at a public hospital, and because of COVID-19 she has been working like so many hours, extra shifts and everything, so she cannot have classes now. But she used to work at Santa Casa, and my school is on the street of Santa Casa. So after her morning shift, she would just grab something to eat and then go to Caltabiano to have classes with me. And one day she arrived at the school and said, "Oh, Bruna, I think I've left my books at the bakery where I had something to eat." I said, "Oh, no problem." And then I provided something for us to do as she didn't have the books. And then she couldn't find the books anymore, and then she bought another set of books. And after like a month or so, she said, "You don't believe, I think I've lost my books again. And oh, you will kill me." I will not kill anyone. And then after 2 weeks, she found the books inside her house. So she's the mother of two. She's a wife. She's a doctor. Her life is so crazy. And she's very interested in learning. If I say, "Oh, come on, I don't believe she's coming without the book again." But every time she comes without a book, I needed to be very creative at the time and think what I'm going to do. Because I don't have extra books for students there or extra copies or anything. So I needed to do, but I've been a teacher for a long time. I managed to do that when she comes to class without a book. But instead of saying, okay, she's not interested, she is. It's just that English is not her priority. And can it be when she has like so many other things to do, so many other things to handle at the same time? What she's going through is something that she's the only one to know. We don't know. We might imagine, oh, if it were me, I'm not a working mother. I don't know. So, oh, she must be more organized. Oh, this, oh, that. It's something that we don't know. So instead of jumping to conclusions, I guess we need to go one step back and be understanding, do what we can do for her to learn, because this is my objective, to make her learn, because she has a dream, she has like a name. So my job as a teacher is not to judge on how she deals with her organization at home, how she does things, but to teach her and to help her with English. And then when we try to use empathy, those are some things that we take into consideration. And there are many other situations that happen in class, and I'm sure that happen to everyone, that we could try to take into consideration. Because we are trying to understand students instead of judging them. What very often we call like, oh, it's lack of interest, this student is lazy. How many students will have like some kind of difficulties and we thought that they were lazy? So instead of saying, okay, this student is lazy, let's try to understand the student. Let's try to understand what the student is being through. Then we can help the student much more. Because when we just say, okay, this person is lazy, so if he doesn't care or she doesn't, if they don't care, I'm not gonna care either, then it's like, what kind of good job am I doing here? And after so long teaching, I've been teaching for over 20 years, sometimes it could happen. We could like not care, and I hope it will never happen to me or to you, because the day it happens, maybe it's time for me to look for something else to do, because we should care. We should really care. And then let's try to understand the reasons behind. There are some students who won't talk to us if we don't ask them. So understanding them is really important. And when we do this, we choose to see each student. And without empathy, we teach the content, not the student. And what are the reasons there are teachers? What are the reasons we are teachers? So our profession exists because of students. If there are no students, there are no teachers, there are no jobs, there are no schools, there is nothing, because we don't have anyone to learn. So as Luis Otávio Barros usually says in his talks, about them. So if we don't choose to see the students, I don't see any point at doing this. Remember that when we are teaching, we have syllables to follow. So we have a book to follow, we have some content that we have to teach, of course, but it's syllabus plus students. It's not only the lesson plan that we have carefully planned. We have to consider the student, the person who is receiving that knowledge, the person who is there. Because without that, there is no teacher if there is no student. So this is part of our job. And it's very important to think that in this way, empathy will work in both directions, teacher student and student teacher. We can teach students how to demonstrate empathy when we demonstrate empathy. Let's suppose a student is late, and then we just tell the student off without not even wanting to know what happened. When this student needs to do something with, let's suppose we're talking about teenagers, when there is some sort of interaction among these students, maybe this student doesn't want to know the reasons why the other persons are acting the way they are either. So what I mean is that we can teach them how to demonstrate empathy when we demonstrate empathy. When we teach students that first want to know why, and then we tell them off if that's the case. We don't just start judging people or their attitudes without talking before, without listening to their side of the stories before. So this is something that we can just teach them by doing. If we don't demonstrate empathy, they will not do the same. And it's very interesting that when you demonstrate empathy, students will demonstrate empathy too. If you teach teens and adults, even children, I think whomever you teach, if you are going through something difficult and they get to know, they are really nice. And they really understand you and everything, because you tend to do the same. They are really concerned because you are concerned. And the students, they get really like, they get genuinely interested in you, in their mates, because you are this way. After all, we cannot be what we cannot see. So we always rely on stories, on examples. So I believe teachers here work as role models. When we demonstrate empathy, we're teaching mutual respect, we're teaching willingness to learn, and those things that we teach students, and then they will learn because we are showing them those things. Otherwise, it's very difficult for them to have this attitude in class if we don't show this to them. And one of the benefits of including this is that sometimes we disagree. We don't entirely agree with a person like 100% of times. We have differences. Yes, Ila introduced me at the beginning. She almost made me cry. We have worked together. We have been friends for a while. I miss her so much now that she lives away, but we don't entirely agree. There are some things in which we Like there are things that we don't see eye to eye, but that's okay. I know that she has many things to teach me, even if we don't agree. And I know how to listen to her and how to respect her opinions. And she does the same to me. And this is something that we need to teach our students, because what we see is like a bunch of people who don't know how to do this anymore. I'm sure that everyone has had like a very bad uh, has been through a very bad moment in social media, for example, in which people are very rude, very, very aggressive, and very like without listening, without respecting, only attacking without wanting to have like a sort of conversation for no reason. So it's important for us to show that even if you don't agree entirely, of course there are some opinions that are very like opposite, and then we're not going to mention this there. But if a person that you respect, you can have a dialogue with the person. You can and we can realize that everyone has got a story to tell, and everyone has got something to teach us. So this is the beauty of empathy. Even if you don't agree, you might respect, and then we might be able to talk about. I know nowadays it's easier said than done, especially in terms of politics and some other things that are happening. But this is something that maybe a new generation can do better than we are doing now. We teach so many important things to students, things that will help them in their life and career. We teach English, for example. English can help you, a student, for example, study abroad, can help a student get a promotion. You can help a student, for example, make presentations in English and then be part of a board meeting. We teach grammar, vocabulary, functions. We teach so many things that will help them in their lives and careers. Um, and then I keep thinking that as educators, we need to teach them soft skills too. It's high time we teach them soft skills. They don't teach, we don't learn them enough at school. We don't learn them like anywhere, pretty much anywhere. So I think if it's possible to include some sort of soft skills, such as empathy, I think our students will benefit so much as we're teaching so many important things for their life and careers. Empathy is one thing that will really help them have better relationship and at the job, at the personal life. It will help them respect people, will help them not do so many bad things that have been happening. So I believe this is part of our job. And how can we do this? Because I've been talking so much about this, but how can we do this? Are there ways that we can do this? I see a few ways and I would like to share with you. As I told you, we teach by demonstrating, because then they will see how you do and they might do the same. So the first one is practicing active listening. Is when we have like deep, honest, non-judgmental listen. So we listen to the questions of students, we listen to their concerns, and we really pay attention to what they are asking us, to what they are saying to us. It's not like only, okay, do you have any question? And then the student asks, and because it's not only about the content. Sometimes the student asks you, for example, am I making any progress? Because I don't feel like I'm making. And then you say, oh, yes, yes, of course you are. You are right. It's exactly what I am expecting. But then the student takes this answer, but the student is still feeling like, oh, I'm not sure about. It's not only like to receive compliments, not always. Sometimes the student really needs to talk more about this. And we are the ones who know where the student should be. So maybe we should give those moments more importance. We should really listen to what students are saying. So this is and should be really deep and honest. Sometimes the student complains about something in the class, and we just want like to say, ah, no, we want to justify. No, I do this because of that. Maybe it's a good idea just to reflect after. Because this is active listening, when we really listen without judging and without wanting to like justify or to answer immediately. Think about that. Because when you do this, you might teach your student to do this too, not only in the English class, as I told you as an example. Something else I think is important to give students the benefit of the doubt without like jumping to conclusions, as I said. I saw this post on Natalia Guerreiro's Facebook some time ago, and I found it was really interesting. So if you could just take a look at the post. I think it's a very beautiful story because this teacher says, that was the day I decided to treat every single student as if I have no idea what they're going through. You know why? Because we don't have any idea. We never know unless we ask. So this is a very important lesson for us to learn. If we don't ask, we don't know. You're teaching a student, the student seems like absent-minded, or the student is a little bit rude or something. The student is not acting as themselves, let's say. And then this is something, if you don't ask, we don't know. So it's better to give the benefit of the doubt and try to discover what is happening than judging. Let's suppose this teacher, when the student says, oh, may I come in because I'm late, the teacher says, oh, no, you're late. We never know that what was happening. So I try to give the benefit of the doubt to my students before losing my patience. Sometimes I do. I'm human too. Sometimes I don't want to teach students anymore. I have to admit, sometimes I don't want them at my school anymore because they give me so much trouble. But I always try. I try my best to give them the benefit of the doubt and to understand what is happening before jumping to conclusions. Something else that is important is to observe students, not only what they say, but to really observe everything that is happening. Sometimes we're having a speaking activity. You see that the student gets really anxious, even blushes. So these are things that give us cues because sometimes the student is not feeling comfortable at all in the class or something. Can we do something about this? Is it possible? Is there anything that I can do? I observe that two students, they don't get along well. Every time they do pair work, it's very difficult for one to respect the other's opinion or the other's turn taking. Can I do something about it? So it's not only about what they say, but about what I see. And something else that is very important is developing technique. Of course, technique is not everything because I've been talking about soft skills, and technique is not a soft skill. But of course, it's important for us to try to adapt our technique to students' needs and interests. This is something that is important. And if we don't know technique, if we don't know best practices, it's more difficult for us to adapt those things. We cannot repeat our classes over and over again, regardless the group of students, who they are, what they need. So developing technique is very important. And of course, adapting lessons to make students feel represented. That's what this event is about. That's why I put here this beautiful book cover here. And then I don't need to talk so much about this because this is what it is about. Even if I'm not part of one of those minorities, I adapt my lessons so that my students feel represented and feel welcome, and it will make my class be like much better. And this has everything to do with empathy. When I understand that adapting my lessons will do wonders to the learning and to students too. Towards the end of my presentation, I love this page, Humans of New York. I don't know if you're familiar with. The photographer, he's a photographer who takes pictures of people and he asks people to talk about something. And this boy, he said he has dyslexia, and so he's from Paris, he has dyslexia, and he could never learn anything really. He was like, he always did something, he never did well at school. He had like bad grades and so on. So one day his French teacher told him, "Oh, I would like to talk to you after class." And guess what he thinks? Oh, he's gonna tell me off because I know again I'm not doing well in literature or in French because I have dyslexia and I cannot. I'm dyslexic and I cannot cope well with language. So again, it's the same thing again because it has happened to him many times, and other members of his family have the same difficulties. But no, what the teacher wanted to tell him was that reading could help him. So the teacher basically uh, showed him a list of books and told, okay, let's choose some of those together. I would like you to read and I would like you to discuss those books with me. You're going to see how much they will help you. And for the first time, this boy was interested in reading. And now this boy is at college and he still exchanges emails with his French teacher because says that if he doesn't say, nobody realizes that he has this difficulty. So the French teacher showed him the power of reading. And he said that if it hadn't been for this teacher today, he doesn't know what would have happened to him because he felt like a total failure. And his teacher went there and showed him that no, you can do this, and showed him a way of doing this. And guess what? This teacher was a novice teacher. I don't know if this teacher had dyslexia himself or not. We don't know this by the text. But let's suppose he didn't. And then what he showed was a great deal of empathy. I understand your difficulty, even if I don't have it. So, great deal with empathy together with technique. Let's see what I can do to help you. And this boy says, this teacher has changed my life. I am who I am today because of this teacher. So it's a very beautiful thing to happen. And I know it's not easy. I know it's like a long way for us, these long stairs for us to climb step by step because it's not easy because we are human beings too. So it's not easy to show empathy all the time, but it's really worth it. Not because by doing this, not only do we teach better lessons and we help our students to learn more and better, but because after all, we become better human beings. Okay? So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bruna. It was amazing.
Thank you.
It's
Thank you for the
very good.
opportunity.
Very
Thank you,
good.
Bruna.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it. And I think it's a really important message, right? Because obviously part of what we want to do with Raise Up is enable people to feel like they belong in the classroom, right?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Yeah. And so we really appreciate it. Thank you.